The 1903 World Series was the first modern championship in Major League Baseball, pitting the Boston Americans of the American League against the Pittsburgh Pirates of the National League in a best-of-9 format. Pittsburgh took an early 3-1 lead, thanks in part to Jimmy Sebring, who hit the first home run in World Series history in Game 1, but Boston stormed back, winning 4 straight to clinch the series 5-3. Cy Young and Bill Dineen anchored Boston's pitching, combining for all 5 wins. Dineen threw 3 complete games, including a shutout in Game 2 and a decisive win in Game 8. Boston's offense was led by Patsy Doherty, who batted .323 with 2 home runs. Despite playing with several injured starters, including Honus Wagner, Pittsburgh fought hard, but Boston's depth and dominant pitching secured baseball's first true championship, laying the foundation for the World Series as sport's ultimate stage. In 1904, the World Series was supposed to follow the inaugural 1903 success, but instead, it never happened, becoming baseball's first and only missing World Series by choice. The Boston Americans, led again by Cy Young, had won the American League pennant, but the New York Giants of the National League, managed by John McGraw, refused to participate. McGraw dismissed the American League as a minor league and claimed the Giants were already the true champions. His disdain was partly fueled by a rivalry with AL president Van Johnson, and the belief that postseason play was unnecessary. The public and media heavily criticized the Giants, leading to a backlash that forced baseball's leadership to act. As a direct result, the National Commission formalized the World Series in 1905, ensuring future champions from both leagues would face off. Thus, 1904 became a turning point, not for what happened, but for what didn't. The 1905 World Series marked the official return of championship play after the 1904 boycott, and it delivered a masterclass in pitching. The New York Giants faced the Philadelphia Athletics in a best-of-7 series, and Christy Mathewson lit it up, pitching 3 complete game shutouts in just 6 days. He allowed 0 earned runs but allowed 14 hits over these 3 games, cementing this outing as one of the most dominant postseason pitching performances in baseball history. The Giants won the series 4-1, with all 5 games ending in shutouts, 4 by New York and 1 by Philadelphia. Joe McGinty added a second shutout for the Giants in Game 4. The Athletics struggled offensively, batting just .161 for the entire series, with their ace, Rube Waddell, not playing for some reason never disclosed. The series set the tone for how dominant pitching could dictate October's success, and Mathewson's performance remains one of the greatest in World Series history. The 1906 World Series was one of the biggest upsets in baseball history. It featured an all-Chicago showdown, the heavily favored Chicago Cubs, who had won a record 116 games, versus the underdog Chicago White Sox, dubbed the Hitless Wonders for their weak offense. Despite a team batting average of just .198 during the regular season, the White Sox stunned everyone by winning the series 4-2. They outpitched and outmaneuvered the Cubs, especially in the final 2 games. George Rohay, a utility infielder, emerged as the unlikely hero, batting .333 with the bases-loaded triple in Game 3. The Cubs' dominant pitching duo Mordecai Three-Finger Brown and Ed Rulebach couldn't hold back the Sox' opportunistic offense. In Game 6, the White Sox exploded for 8 runs, the most in a game that series, sealing the title. It was the first and only time that the 2 Chicago teams met in the World Series. The 1907 World Series marked the beginning of a mini-dynasty for the Chicago Cubs, who redeemed their 1906 disappointment by defeating the Detroit Tigers and a young Ty Cobb in a dominant 4-0 sweep. Game 1 ended in a 3-3 tie after 12 innings due to darkness. Still one of the only few tied games in series history. But after that, the Cubs took over. Their pitching staff, led again by Mordecai Three-Finger Brown and Orville Overall, shut down the Tigers' explosive offense, holding Cobb to a .200 batting average with just 4 hits and 20 at-bats. Offensively, Johnny Evers and Frank Chance sparked the Cubs' attack, and the team capitalized on Detroit's 15 errors over the series. Chicago outscored Detroit 20-6 across 5 games, winning their first World Series title and laying the groundwork for another championship just a year later. The 1908 World Series was a rematch of the previous year, with the Chicago Cubs again facing the Detroit Tigers and Ty Cobb. This time, the Cubs won the series 4-1, cementing themselves as the first team to win back-to-back World Series titles. Pitching was the Cubs' greatest weapon once again. Orville Overall and Mordecai Three-Finger Brown combined for 3 complete game wins, with Overall striking out 10 Tigers in the decisive Game 5 shutout. Chicago's pitchers held Detroit to just 3 total runs in their 4 losses. Despite being the reigning AL batting champion, Ty Cobb was mostly neutralized, hitting .368 but driving in only 1 run. The Cubs' offense wasn't explosive but timely, with Johnny Evers and Joe Tinker delivering clutch hits and aggressive base running. As of today, this remains the last World Series the Cubs won until 2016, ending a 108-year drought. The 1909 World Series featured 2 future Hall of Famers, Honus Wagner and Ty Cobb. It was Detroit's 3rd straight World Series appearance and 3rd straight loss. Pittsburgh triumphed in 7 games, winning their first championship. This was the first World Series to go the full 7 games, and it was a battle of styles. The Pirates played aggressive and smart baseball, while the Tigers, on the other hand, struggled with errors and inconsistency at the plate. Wagner, determined to outshine Cobb, hit .333 with 6 RBIs, stole 6 bases, and was a force both offensively and defensively. Pittsburgh's rookie pitcher Babe Adams was the unexpected hero, winning 3 complete games, including the decisive Game 7 where he allowed just 6 hits in a shutout. Despite Ty Cobb hitting just .231, he still stole 6 bases, but Wagner's steady dominance helped silence critics and led Pittsburgh to a well-earned victory. The 1910 World Series featured the Philadelphia Athletics defeating the Chicago Cubs in 5 games, 4-1. Led by Eddie Plank and Chief Bender, the Athletics' pitching dominated, with Plank throwing a shutout in Game 1 and Bender winning 2 games himself. Home Run Baker provided offensive spark, hitting 2 crucial home runs, including one in the decisive Game 5. The Cubs struggled to generate offense with their star players, including, yet again, Mordecai Three-Finger Brown, unable to contain the Athletics' powerful lineup. Philadelphia claimed its second World Series title under manager Connie Mack. The 1911 World Series saw the Philadelphia Athletics defeat the New York Giants 4-2, securing their second consecutive championship. Philadelphia was led by Home Run Baker, who, you guessed it, hit home runs, powering the offense. On the mound, Chief Bender and Eddie Plank shut down the Giants yet again, with Bender pitching a shutout in Game 3. The Giants, despite Christy Mathewson's solid pitching, couldn't overcome the Athletics' depth. Baker's 2 bombs in Game 2 and an overall team effort in Game 6 sealed the series. Philadelphia cemented their dynasty and remained a dominant force in early 1910s baseball. The 1912 World Series was one of the most thrilling, with the Boston Red Sox defeating the New York Giants in 8 games, including a tie in Game 2. The series ended 4-3-1. The series was highlighted by a dramatic pitching performance, including Smokey Joe Wood, who won 3 games and tossed a shutout in Game 4. Fred Snodgrass had a costly error in Game 8 that allowed the Red Sox to win the series. Tris Speaker led the Red Sox offense while the Giants struggled with errors. The victory gave Boston his second World Series title, cementing the legacy of their pitching staff. In 1913, we saw the Philadelphia Athletics reclaim their title, defeating the New York Giants 4-1. Eddie Plank and Chief Bender were dominant on the mound, with Plank throwing a shutout in Game 1 and Bender earning 2 victories, including the pivotal win in Game 5. The Athletics offense was powered by Home Run Baker, who, again, hit a crucial home run in Game 3. Despite strong pitching from the Giants, led by Christy Mathewson, they couldn't overcome the Athletics' depth. Philadelphia's win secured their 3rd World Series title in just 5 years. The 1914 World Series featured one of the greatest upsets in baseball history, as the Boston Braves shocked the Philadelphia Athletics, sweeping them 4-0. The Braves, led by manager George Stallings, dominated both offensively and defensively. Johnny Evers starred with his bat and leadership, while Bill James, no, not that Bill James, pitched brilliantly, winning 2 games, including a shutout in Game 2. The Athletics, the reigning champions, struggled to score, with Chief Bender and Eddie Plank unable to stem the Braves' momentum. The Braves' surprise victory gave them their first World Series title, and they became the first team to sweep a World Series since 1907. In 1915, we saw the Boston Red Sox defeat the Philadelphia Phillies 4-1, claiming their 3rd championship in 15 years. Red Sox pitcher Rube Foster was dominant, winning 2 games, including a key shutout in Game 4. Tris Speaker and Harry Hooper led Boston's offense, providing timely hitting throughout the series. The Phillies, despite solid seasons, struggled with their offense and couldn't solve the Red Sox pitching staff. The Red Sox balanced batting combined with stellar pitching earned them the title. This was Boston's first World Series win since their 1912 triumph. The 1916 World Series saw the Boston Red Sox defeat the Brooklyn Robins 4-1 to win their 4th championship. Babe Ruth emerged as a postseason hero, pitching 14 shutout innings in Game 2 and winning Game 4, solidifying his transition from an elite hitter to an exceptional pitcher. Tris Speaker provided offensive spark, while Dutch Leonard also contributed with key pitching performances. The Robins, despite a strong offense led by Zach Wheat, couldn't solve the pitching of the Red Sox just like the Phillies couldn't the year before. Boston's dominant mound work and timely hits sealed the victory, giving them their 3rd World Series in 5 years. The 1917 World Series saw the Chicago White Sox defeat the New York Giants 4-2 to claim their 3rd championship. Pitcher Eddie, Italian last name, was brilliant, winning 2 games, including a critical Game 6 shutout, leading to the Sox victory. Chicago's offensive attack was fueled by Happy Felsch and Buck Weaver, who both sound like cartoon characters from the 70s. They both provided clutch hits throughout the series. Despite a strong showing from the Giants, they couldn't overcome the White Sox' dominant pitching staff. The series marked Chicago's first championship in 8 years, continuing their successful early 20th century run. The 1918 World Series saw the Boston Red Sox defeat the Chicago Cubs 4-2 to win their 5th championship. Babe Ruth played a pivotal role, as he always does, both as a hitter and a pitcher, securing the win in Game 4 and contributing with a home run. The Red Sox pitching staff, led by Joe Bush and Dutch Leonard, shut down the Cubs' offense. Chicago struggled offensively, with Rogers Hornsby failing to provide the expected spark. Despite the Cubs' strong pitching, the Red Sox all-around performance brought them to their 4th title in just 6 years, marking the end of a dominant era for Boston. The 1919 World Series is one of the most infamous in history, as the Cincinnati Reds defeated the Chicago White Sox 5-3 in a series marred by the Black Sox scandal. Despite a strong performance from Eddie, Italian last name, and Happy Felsch, several White Sox players, including shoeless Joe Jackson, were later accused of conspiring to intentionally lose the series in exchange for money from gamblers. The Reds, led by Ed Roush and Jake Daubert, capitalized on the Sox's misfortune. Cincinnati's victory marked their first World Series title, while the scandal tarnished the sport's integrity for years to come. The 1920 World Series saw the Cleveland Indians defeat the Brooklyn Dodgers 5-2, claiming their first championship. Cleveland's pitching was led by Stan Kovaleski, who won 3 games, including a shutout in Game 5. The Indians' offense was sparked by Tris Speaker and Clarence Ducky Medwick, with Speaker contributing key hits. The Dodgers struggled against Cleveland's pitching staff, and Walter Johnson, despite his legendary career, couldn't carry Brooklyn to a victory. This series marked the first championship for the Indians, giving Cleveland a long-awaited title after years of near misses. The 1921 World Series saw the New York Giants defeat the Yankees 5-3 in an intense and hard-fought battle, giving the Giants their 3rd championship. The series was highlighted by a stellar performance from Casey Stengel and Dave Bancroft, who each provided clutch hits. On the mound, Jake Scott and Paul Parrott helped control the Yankees' potent offense. The Yankees, led by the Bambino and Lou Gehrig, struggled to overcome the Giants' pitching staff. Ruth's powerful bat wasn't enough to counter New York's pitching woes, and the Giants claimed the title after a series of thrilling games. In 1922, we saw the New York Giants defeat the New York Yankees yet again in a dominating series marking their 4th championship. The series featured brilliant pitching performances, with Virgil Barnes and Jack Scott stifling the Yankees lineup. The Giants' offense was led by George Burns and Bill Terry, who contributed key hits throughout the series. The Yankees, despite strong efforts from Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, yet again struggled against the Giants' pitching and depth. The Giants' pitching dominance was key to their success, as they swept the Yankees, with only Game 2 ending in a tie. In 1923, the New York Yankees defeated the New York Giants 4-2, claiming their first championship in franchise history, and not their last. Babe Ruth led the way offensively, hitting .368 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Bob Musil and Wally Pipp also contributed with key hits, while Earl Combs added 2 steals. On the mound, Jack Quinn won Game 4 with a 2-hit shutout, and Joe Bush earned 2 wins. The Giants' offense, led by George Kelly and Bill Terry, couldn't overcome the Yankees' pitching depth. Ruth's power and the Yankees' overall pitching dominance secured the victory. In 1924, the Washington Senators defeated the New York Giants 4-3, earning their first ever championship. Walter Johnson, in the twilight of his career, was the star, winning 2 games, including a complete game victory in Game 7. Johnson's Game 7 performance was a shutout, allowing just 4 hits. Offensively, Goose Goslin was the key contributor, hitting .344 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. The Giants were led by Bill Terry and Travis Jackson, but despite a strong effort, they couldn't overcome the Senators' pitching and timely hitting, as Washington clinched the title in a dramatic Game 7. The 1925 World Series saw the Pittsburgh Pirates defeat the Washington Senators 4-3 to claim their 3rd championship. John Milius was key for the Pirates, earning 2 wins, including a complete game shutout in Game 4. Offensively, Kiki Kyler led the Pirates, hitting .357 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Goose Goslin of the Senators was also impressive, hitting .294 with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. Despite Walter Johnson's strong pitching efforts for Washington, including a 2-hit shutout in Game 5, Pittsburgh's offense and defense proved too much, clinching their 3rd title. In 1926, we saw the St. Louis Cardinals defeat the New York Yankees 4-3, in a thrilling showdown securing their 2nd championship. The Cardinals' pitching was outstanding, with Grover Cleveland Alexander dominating, winning Game 6 and 7, including a shutout in that Game 7, while allowing just 5 hits. Rogers Hornsby and Bob O'Farrell led the Cardinals offensively, with Hornsby hitting .296 with 1 home run and 5 ribbies. The Yankees, led by Babe Ruth's .256 average and 2 home runs, couldn't overcome St. Louis's pitching staff, giving the Cardinals their 2nd ever title. That was the first 23 years of World Series explained. If you liked this video, please leave a like and maybe even subscribe. A part 2 covering even more of the World Series will be coming out shortly. Have a great day. See ya.